Hi, everyone. My name is Ssempijja. I work with Opportunity International. I manage their Refugee Financial Inclusion Project that's being implemented in Uganda. I've also just completed my final exams for the Masters in Refugee Protection and Forced Migration Studies with the University of London. And I'm also currently an IDP summer fellow to the University of London. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to present about my master's findings on a topic that I'm so passionate about, that is local integration. Well, so just a brief introduction about the refugee scenario in Uganda. Uganda hosts over 1.4 million refugees, and these are settled across 14 camps, as well as some staying in the urban center, most especially around Kampala city, where we have over 90,000 refugees residing in the city. Well, the country has a progressive refugee policy that enables refugees to access education, employment, and a bit of freedom of movement, as well as land on which they cultivate their food, and also participate in some other economic activities. And in addition to the policy, the country and other development partners do implement their integrated services that are aimed at helping both refugees and nationals or the host, live resilient lives, and also kind of live together in peace and stability, and also improve their living standards. Well, as a result of this, of course, UNHCR and other development partners have implemented a lot of projects, a lot of programs that are targeting both the livelihoods of the nationals and the refugees around the refugee settlement. And of course, my big question is, do these actually foster local integration of refugees into the local communities? And so through our research that I conducted in November, I was able to interview over 30 respondents. 20 of these were refugees and 10 were nationals, basically to understand, as people who benefit from these programs, do they feel they foster local integration? Yeah? And I really found got some interesting findings, and so I'm happy to present these in the next slides. Now, the first interesting finding is that actually the integrated projects or activities that are implemented for refugees and the nationals do facilitate the process of de facto integration, or what we call informal integration at the grassroots. And of course, because of these programs, we found out that refugees are able to trade with the nationals. They are able to learn languages, get access same services such as education or facilities from where they happen to learn each other. There was a story of one of the refugees that I talked to. He mentioned that actually they fetch water from the same water sources like the nationals, and when they go to fetch water, they happen to learn languages of the nationals and share experiences. And of course, this points to the fact that these integrated services facilitate a process of two-way integration, and they facilitate a feeling of safety and create stable environment through which the refugees and the nationals live. Well, so another interesting finding was actually the fact that we found out that refugees and nationals have actually established their own locally led initiatives, and these are slightly far away from the integrated services that are implemented. For example, some of the refugees a big number of the refugees that we talked to mentioned that they participated in the same village savings groups as with the nationals. They run joint businesses, joint farming activities, and sports. And we found out that these activities, locally led initiatives, were key in creating that social capital, social connectedness between the refugees and the nationals. Indeed, they described them as their own arrangements to solve their problems and lead their own development. So it means this implies that they know their problems and that they come together as themselves to try to make sure that they solve them. And we found this really interesting, and we found the refugees and the nationals were happy about how they could foster their own development. Well, and I think the big question that we found out was on the question of citizenship. Well, one of the refugees that we talked to mentioned that he had been in the settlement for over 25 years and had children, but he was still called a refugee, and he felt it was unfair for him not to participate in the politics of the country, because he doesn't have any plans to return back to his country of origin. And this leaves a huge question on whether the integrated services are actually facilitating the process of citizenship, which we found was not the case, but also we remain asking ourselves at what point do refugees get to be considered as nationals, and the labels of being refugees are removed from them. Well, it should be noted that the 1999 Ugandan Citizenship and Immigration Control Act does provide that anyone that has lived in a country for over 20 years has a right to apply for naturalization and can be naturalized, but there is no evidence to confirm if this has actually happened. A group of Congolese refugees actually went to the Ugandan court to seek for interpretation of this law and try to gauge if they could be naturalized and become Ugandans. But until now, the hearing and the results of the case have not yet been received, and this has taken over 20 years. So this remains a really huge question, and want to see what, and it remain asking ourselves at what point do refugees do become nationals, and at what point do they get to fully enjoy the national rights as Ugandans. Well, so this takes us to the takes me to some of the policy implications that my research wants to point to, and one of which is we want the international community to come out and remind remind the African governments or states that are hosting refugees to really fully implement their agendas and address the durable solutions, especially the point of local integration for refugees, which we think is still not fully achieved, and the governments are really not taking that as a priority for now. So there is need to focus for that. And also, the research recommends that the government of Uganda needs to evaluate cases of refugees, especially those that have been in the country for a long time, and consider providing full citizenship to such groups. Imagine someone who has been in the country for over 30 years, he has produced children from here. At what point, and doesn't have plans of going back? So at what point do they become nationals or get a Ugandan national ID and participate in the political events of the country? So I think this needs to be looked into by the government, and also consistent with the fact that there are calls for burden sharing. I think the research recommends that more funding should be directed towards supporting the local-led initiatives, which we found were key and addressing the real felt needs of the refugees and the nationals, because they are the ones who start these initiatives. They are the ones who are implementing them. So it should be, it's important that they are provided support, their capacity is built, and they are facilitated to further implement these activities, and then contribute to better well-being of and coexistence of refugees and the nationals. So I would like to thank everyone for listening in. If you have any comments or any questions, I'm really happy to answer these. You could reach out through my email and also through a phone call or WhatsApp. Especially, I would like to acknowledge that I would like to thank the University of London and also the scholarship that I got. I know it was a really hard, it was a long process, a tight process that I had to go through, but I'm so thankful that I got this scholarship, which has enabled me complete my study and my master's. And of course, special thanks goes to the Refugee Law Initiative and the University of London and my supervisor, Dr. Lucy Hoville, for her support, guidance, and mentorship through the process. So thank you so much and hope to keep in touch.